Anybody not ready? The affirmative attempts to solve for their harms and quality of life by using the existing power relations of the United States federal government and its immigration apparatus entrenches biopolitical institutions which manages populations justifies the root of all evils. For us, apply Foucault 80 from the 1 and C also by using the entrenched cultural institutions and institutional norms existing in the status quo to solve for the harms of the case. You only re-entrench and double down on the harms of the case in an intentional and intrinsic threat construction paradigm. This means all inherency, significance, and solvency claims are false, and the AF turns its own case. The AF is a classic example of biopower, placing a value of 0 on human life with the justification of the utilitarian management of populations, meaning all that K solves is nothing, even if you don't buy the K turns case or alternative solving K and or case, which it does. Case is just further normalization of existing harmful power relations, which is net bad compared to the status quo. At bare minimum, you can vote neg on perception. Also remember that you cannot implement policy without questioning the assumptions the policy levels entrenched in. You must evaluate the critique and ontology before the case. Knowledge and power are co-productive. The neg educates while the app perpetuates ignorance, Foucault in 88. One cannot care for oneself without knowledge. To care for oneself is knowing in a certain number of rules and conduct and principles, which are the same as truth and regulations. To care for oneself defines oneself without these rules. Now, I'm going to give you 6 reasons why we've already won this round on biopower. 1, vote nay because the affirmative is an example of biopolitical control, which is the root of all wars, massacres, oppression, persecution, and genocide. That's Foucault 80. Vote against the act of entrenching biopolitical control. This independently outweighs case. You can vote here as a linearity or D80 case without even evaluating the alternative Bernauer provides in a 1 and C. 2, vote for alternative. A population cannot be managed if its members are thinking independently, which solves the case. That's Bernauer's thinking practice as described in the 1 and C. 3, vote for their alternative as a prerequisite to case that creates the framework for solving the AF. A world without biopower institutional control is a world where the harms of the 1AC don't exist. Case is not necessary. Post-alt. Yes, this is a floating pig. Fight me. 4, vote for us because our 1 and C 3 as an example of thinking practice as it said. We are questioning the norms of biopolitical control and advocate for you to do the same, which creates immediate in-round solvency. This is a real-world impact on the fiat level of the debate, which leaves this audience in the round thinking and also acts as our counter-interpretation to the terrible framework that they brought up. 5, vote nay because K turns case biopolitical control has been proven to be the root of all harms and outlined by the 1AC. They haven't even touched that. 6, the affirmative solves for nothing because case is based upon assumptions created by biopolitical control. Truth and power are co-productive. You cannot solve for anything ethical without first practicing thinking practice at the set. In other words, K is a prerequisite for any types of solvency. The agency for liberation endorsed by the plan only works to further hierarchical domination, Foucault in 88. Relationships of power have an extreme low-wide extension to human relations, while the individual social group manages to block field of relations power and to passive and variable to prevent the reversibility of movements. It means that the instruments with the economic go for political and military. We're facing what could be called a state of domination. It's certainly that the state of practice is confined to limits. Now, cross-apply, this is the link debate, cross-apply all the immigration policy government links from the 1 and C, including the hidden one on the case page. It was not number 10, it was number 1. You mishandled it. My partner will explain. Additionally, I will present you 4 new links, any one of which ensures that the impact of the case will outweigh case, but also turns case. We only need a risk of 1 of these 7 links in this debate to win the round. 1, cross applies their own Gottlieb 17 card from the 1AC. It literally states, and I quote, nations do have the agitation of control or how they approach the historical circumstances that they have been dead and how they respond creates systemic luck of those with lives bound by their decisions. This is the definition of biopower and turns case. The affirmative states that the state is necessary to relieve physical and emotional and existential suffering. The affirmative outlines while we concur these impacts exist, the affirmative fails to address the root cause. The affirmative fails to realize that the borders and policies created by the suffering they attempt to solve were created by the exact institutions that use in their plan text. The biopolitical institutions that use borders to manage population also claim to be the saviors of the suffering they create. They continue to feed into the biopolitical institutions that justify the suffering for the alleged better of the populace. You must reject this concept to actualize any sort of solvency. That's the Foucault 80 card from the 1AC. Additionally, the management of populations moves past identification and categorization into a realm of oppressive discourses with a reinscription of norms and a division of radical movements into the sympathetic narratives of saviorism. Governments use state action as a tool of rescue migrants through liberal reform. That's the link. Liberal reform. They say it themselves. The saviorism is used to blunt the pain of neoliberalism so that non-migrants can feel good about themselves, to convince themselves that individuality can exist in neoliberal and biopolitical structures. This is Chavez in 13. Left-leaning politics tend to adhere to a sentimental and nostalgic view of the other that is deeply embedded into politics, and the abjects of rescue. Oppressive dominance have intensified. Governments keep telling these institutions and practices that they have been abolished. The personal narratives and take a form of feeling good about helping the individual in a bad stance, a place of critique of labor conditions and capitalist expansion have the created bad conditions in the first place. Mark card there. Next. Concede their Cohen and 18 cards. We agree that the plan prevents the collapse of global governance. We will defend that global governance bad. This spill-up claim suggested supercharges all of our impacts and turns the case I described. By the way, they dropped the number 6 card on case, which is from their own author and describes this. Advocacy of and governmental solutions subconsciously works to reinforce oppression and preclude solvency. That's Kolnick in 97. Power cannot be adequately characterized in the terms of the intentions who possess it. Subtext infusing the systems that I thought I heard something. Results of conscious, but rather implicit norms and expecting affecting the economy and state. Bureaucratic power is not the power possessed by individual agency, but exists in the exercise of decision-making. Mark card there. Concede their framework. The Whiteland 11 card. We agree the 1AC spreads U.S. democratic norms. Not only does that re-entrench global biopolitical control, which is at the heart of all wars, massacres, suppression, persecution, and genocide, it's extremely colonialist. You're so lucky that I don't have time to add on colonialism impacts here, because I can independently win on that. I will set and focus on the 6 other reasons I've already proven I've won this round. 4, we can concede all their framing. Systemic violence does spill up into wars. However, if the affirmative embraces systemic violence by advocating the biopolitical 1AC, we also concede that we have a moral obligation to refugees. However, even the concept of refugees is a construct of biopolitical institutions. Your Solvency Actor created the harms outlined in the 1AC. Why did you run this aff knowing I'm the man with the biopower? You're a walking link. This debate was over before it began. Now the line by line. The first argument was the 2 links. They didn't even say anything. They just said they were generic. Group them, extend everything I just did. We have 7 links in this debate. They have not spent any time arguing against any of them. This debate is over. Next, group the 3 perms. 1, sorry to interject, but this argument is incoherent. It's theoretically unattainable to ask the subject to be a product of power relations and at the same time accept already determined identities. These 2 things are mutually exclusive. 2, turn the permutation, mass criticism. It gives the impression that critical inquiry is pursued, yes, embraces the very assumptions we're criticizing. Makes us only one more complacent and dangerous in hand. 3, action cannot occur first, so solutions are tied to the way in which we understand a problem. We must explore ontology first. This is Gandalf in 86. Foucault does discuss possible alternatives that present an insight, nothing in advance of through examination, discussion, implementation. We don't have a solution. People have reflection on certain possible modifications by the existing features of punishment is not sufficient, taking into consideration the problems that have been posed and are now still posed in regards to the practices of punishment that ours are made up from more for the century. How we can think more today as a punishment might be, now that may be a task to take up. 4, this is synonymous to here's a new link. The permutation is a calculative tool to critique such that the plan may occur. Their end goals. This is the end or goal-oriented rationality which tries to use the knowledge to overcome power that we're criticizing. Every perm is a new link. Thanks, there's now 10 links in this debate. 5, no solvency. There's no reason to believe the plan would have the result of rethinking the answer to the question before it's even been posed. 6, permutation is nonsensical. It adds and severs assumptions that are integral to the 1AC's consumption. Severance and intrinsicness are A, shifts of advocacy, B, moving targets, both of which are abusive. Independent voters should now have 8 reasons to vote for in this round. 7, permutation is a reason to vote negative. It shows our criticism was effective in making them move all their ground, which turned out the 1AC, which is what we're criticizing. 8, you should still vote negative. The perm relies on unifying differences that are most beneficial to solving problems, both of which we're critiquing. Your only argument is authentic plus being advanced, absent caveats. Process.